Well, this is Deep Stretch. It's a 60-minute class. You might want a blanket, maybe some blocks or a book. And yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. So this week we're talking about sukha, which translates in a lot of ways to ease or bliss. It's often paired with sthira, which is steadiness. So Deep Stretch is kind of the perfect platform to work on both of those things, but we're really focusing on that ease portion of things this week with sukha. So blanket, blocks, might need that. We're gonna start in legs in the air, so potentially a blanket under the low back. And for folks who I haven't seen in a while, I'm 25 weeks pregnant, so I might do some modifications and present those to you guys, but I might not be doing all of the postures, but I will do my best to explain them. So we'll get started on our back, and I'll talk a little bit more about the theme as we're there. So if you are near a wall, you can always put your legs up the wall, but the easiest place to start would be a blanket under the low back. Maybe a block if you need some extra height, maybe a bolster. And then just lifting those heels up towards the sky. And we'll settle in. Again, this is Deep Stretch, so we'll be in these poses for a little bit longer. If at any point things feel uncomfortable, you can always come out of them or shift. I'll try to call out when we're partway through a posture. So as you settle in to this first pose, take a deep inhale in through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. Let something go, maybe something from the day, from the week. And then maybe contemplate this idea of sukha, sometimes translated to bliss. Let's start with this first posture of noticing maybe where you're still holding tension. Maybe it's your jaw, your shoulders. See if you can soften and relax in those places. About halfway through this opening posture, so if you want to make any adjustments, maybe bringing arms overhead to grab opposite elbows. If you're at the wall, maybe you have the ability to spread legs wide or bring the pinky side edge of the feet. Or if having your legs elevated is not comfortable for you, you can always lower them to the floor or take one leg at a time. I love that option. Notice here where you can soften for the last 10 or so breaths, maybe physically counting them, tapping a thumb to each finger as you inhale and exhale. About 8 more rounds of breath. Your legs are lifted, start to slowly bring them down one leg at a time. At the wall, make your way towards the center, and we'll move into our peak posture, which is not in the middle of the class, right at the beginning. We'll get to it at the end as well. We're going to move into a reclined twist of your choice. So from legs up the air, bring shins parallel to the mat. Maybe let's rock the spine out a little bit, making some circles. And then dropping knees over to the left. If you're pregnant, maybe rolling all the way onto the left side. Otherwise, keeping these stacked, that right arm can extend long out to the side for a shoulder stretch. And then that left hand can come to the right knee for some assistance. Gaze can be up above or at that opposite arm. And again, we'll find places to go deeper, so don't feel like you have to go to that deepest version. Think of ease and steadiness in each posture. Deep inhale in, full exhale out. We'll be here for about a minute of silence, and then I'll check in. Check in here, notice if you need to change the posture. Maybe the knees come closer to the face. Maybe the top leg extends. Trying to keep finding your edge. So if you've gone past your edge, you can also back out of that. But about another minute or so here. Deep inhale in, full exhale out. Notice for these last 5 breaths, if you're still holding tension somewhere, maybe it's the low back, the jaw. Try to soften with those last few breaths on this side. And slowly gaze coming first, making your way back through center, knees come to center. Taking those rolls on that low back a little bit, making circles. And then knees drop over to the right. Maybe you stack all the way over, or staying in this twist, left arm goes out long, or cactus. And then that right hand can come to the left knee. Same thing on this side, about a minute of silence, and then I'll check in. Take a deep inhale as you settle. Full exhale out. Checking in here, maybe knees need to come closer to the face. Top leg can extend, making any adjustments. They don't have to be the same ones you made on the other side. And then settle back in. Deep inhale in. Full exhale out. 5 more breaths on this side. Notice where you're still holding tension and see if you can release it. And slowly making your way back through center. Hugging those knees in. Maybe legs go in opposite circles. And then we'll keep that right knee into the chest. That left foot can plant or the left leg can go long. We're coming into half happy baby. So either grabbing the thigh, the shin, maybe you can reach the foot, and that knee will drive towards the floor. Be here for a few breaths. Keep that left hip grounding. Maybe you rock from side to side. Almost like you're stamping that foot on the ceiling. About 3 breaths here. If you're lifting up to grab that foot, try to ground the shoulders and instead grab that thigh. Pushing foot into hand, hand into foot. Steadiness and ease. Slowly letting that right foot go. Maybe it's bent, maybe it's extended. We'll bring that left foot, thigh or shin into the hand. Half happy baby on the other side. Rocking, rolling. About 5 total breaths here. And we're going to slowly drag that right foot up to meet the right hand for full happy baby. If you have to grab the shins in order to do that, make that adjustment. Feet go to the ceiling. Full happy baby, rocking back and forth. If that feels good, or just finding stillness. Relaxing the shoulders to the earth. And then letting that go, knees come into chest again. And then making your way to seated whatever way feels best for you. If rocking and rolling feels good, maybe flipping to your side. We'll all meet in a seated posture. Maybe you want a blanket under your seat or a block potentially. Crossing at the ankles, you're going to take some seated cat-cows here. So hands will come to the tops of the knees and that chest is going to reach through that window of the shoulders. And then rounding, chin towards chest, taking a few rounds of cat-cow in a different position. And then we'll take this to the side. So ribs go over to the right, keeping that opposite hip grounded, about 3 or so rounds. And then we'll combine those movements for some circles. So chest goes forward, side, back, maybe that chin tucks. Do as many as feel good, but probably 3 on the other side, and then switch directions whenever you feel complete. You can always pause in places that feel extra tight. We're going to take a lateral bend here, so that right hand's going to go out to the side, maybe a block under the forearm if the ground seems far away. That left arm goes up and over, stretching that left side body, and then peeling that top shoulder open. You can gaze down at the floor for a little neck stretch. And then we're going to walk those hands through center briefly, rounding, pushing those hands, and then opening up to the other side. Maybe the block goes with you. We'll go through this one more time if you haven't gone to the full expression. So opening that top shoulder, and then maybe gazing down at the ground and up again. And walking through center. And then we'll stack those shoulders, switch the cross of the ankles just to get that awkward. Always feels so awkward. And then we'll do that again. Maybe you move the block out of the way for this one. You can also bring that hand to the head, maybe peel open a little bit further. Three breaths here. And then walking through center, other side. And then slowly lifting up, one more little cat-cow. So hands are gonna clasp behind the neck. We're gonna do those cat-cow movements, but not as extreme. So elbows are gonna come in towards the face, gently pulling that chin towards chest, and then peeling those elbows open, looking at the ceiling. Do that a few more times, not pulling on the neck, just giving it some support. And we'll release the hands, shake out those wrists a little bit, coming into butterfly or soles of the feet together. So options here, heels can be close into you for more of a hip stretch or further away for low back. Blanket under the hips is also great here. You can create like a block situation if you need something to rest on. But we'll all lift up tall first and then fold over those legs. Feel this in the hips. And if your knees seem impossibly far from the ground, you can also plop or prop, either one, blocks under the knees. Try to relax the jaw, feet. Notice if engaging the glutes gets the knees closer. that might assist you in this posture. Be here for about a minute together, so find a place where you can soften. And as you feel like you can go deeper, make those adjustments on your own. Take 5 more rounds of breath wherever you are. Maybe getting 1 centimeter lower on each exhale if that appeals to you or is in your practice. Or staying exactly where you are. And slowly start to stack shoulders over those hips. I'm going to extend the right leg out long for Janushirshasana. And that left foot can come into the left thigh, or left foot into the right thigh. That would be virtually impossible. If you can do that, that's awesome. So if it's comfortable for you, you can frame that right foot. Maybe you have your blocks nearby, lifting up tall, exhale, folding forward. Or for me, I have to go forward in front of my shoulders. Either way is a great option. This is a twist and a fold. So thinking about if you're over that left leg, that left rib spinning towards the foot. And if your hamstrings feel tight, maybe bending that knee. You can shove a towel or something underneath it for support. Notice if you're gripping in one of the hips or your knee. Try to send your breath there. Also know that an hour class might not be enough time to release the tension, so be okay with that as well. About halfway through, if you want to make any adjustments, moving props, shifting. And in these longer holds, also notice where your thoughts go. It's very natural for them to wander. Be okay with it, but maybe try to bring your attention back to the breath or a mantra. Sometimes my mantra is just, I am inhaling, I am exhaling. And that is enough. About 5 more breaths. Slowly stacking shoulders over hips. We'll keep this leg extended for just a brief side bend. So I like to bring a block in front of the extended leg, and that right forearm is going to come to the block. Left arm reaches up and overhead for a side stretch, and then peel again like we did with those other lateral bends, that top shoulder open. Maybe gaze goes down at the leg if that's more comfortable. Take about 8 breaths here. And slowly start to lift that arm up. Stacking shoulders. We'll plant that left hand behind the left hip and just take a gentle lift of those hips up. Maybe that arm reaches open. Just peeling those hips up. We're switching sides. So bring right foot in, left foot out long, taking that same series on this side. So framing that foot if that feels good to you, or coming out in front, or you can take this to a wall if that's available. Lifting up tall first and then folding forward, finding a place to soften, maybe putting something under that extended knee. I'll check in about a minute. Deep inhale in, check in with where you are. Notice if you need to go further, or if you've passed your edge back out, make any adjustments. And then come back to the breath for another minute. About 5 more rounds of breath. Slowly walking up from whatever pose you're in. We'll take that side bend over the leg, so maybe a block alongside the leg. Left arm to the ground or the block. Right arm up overhead, peeling that shoulder. 8 rounds of breath here. Gaze is wherever is comfortable. And then slowly lifting up, taking that counter stretch if that feels good, to place the right hand behind the right hip and lift up out of the seat. Maybe do that a few times or once, whichever feels good. And we're going to move to tabletop. You might want a blanket under the knees for later posture. We're going to stretch those calves a little bit. So starting from table, we're going to extend that right foot back behind you, and make sure that head doesn't try to gaze at that. Just keep the gaze beneath your face and just push back and forth into that calf, maybe pulsing, maybe making circles. Breathing into the spots where that calf is tight. About 3 more breaths. And bringing that leg down, switching sides, pressing the toes, the ball of the foot into the mat, finding some tension there so that you can stretch out the calf. And then think about that head, back of the head pushing up towards the ceiling as you do, maybe making circles. Maybe holding. About 3 more breaths. And coming back to table. You can stay here, or we're going to lift up to down dog before our next posture. So tucking the toes, lifting the hips. If it feels better to have your forearms on the ground, you can move from there. But pedaling out those feet, another great place to stretch the calves. Bending one knee at a time. And lift to the toes. And then maybe taking feet wider than the mat for a wide leg down dog. So pushing those hands into the ground, pushing that belly towards the thighs, shaking your head yes, shaking your head no. Maybe wiggling your hips. And then walking back to center, one more little calf stretch. You're gonna take the big toe and second toe to your Achilles and push it towards the ground. If you have like snarly toes like I do, just be careful, don't cut yourself. And that foot can kind of help the heel into the mat. Stay for 2 breaths. And then switch sides, left big toe, or whichever one you didn't do. And second toe. If you're in tabletop, maybe just taking those calf stretches. And then we're gonna move to pigeon. So if you know that being on your back is better, you can make your way there. Or we'll move to pigeon from downward facing dog. So that right leg's gonna lift high, maybe opening the top hip. And then right knee towards right wrist. This is where that blanket might be good under the left knee. And then walking that left knee back behind you, more towards the center of your mat. Blocks might be good underneath the face, lifting up tall first, and then folding forward. If you're taking pigeon on your back, looks like a figure 4, so that right ankle will come to the left knee, and you can leave it there or reach for that left thigh, whichever feels good to you. Be here for about 2 minutes. I'll check in halfway. You can also prop something under that right hip. Maybe support the forehead with the thumbs. Try to soften. Find that sukha and sthira, steadiness and ease in a not so ease-filled posture for some. About halfway through, if you want to add a twist to this, you can thread that left arm under the right. I think, yes. Whichever feels less awkward. Or you maybe move the blocks out of the way to lower down. Or stay exactly where you are. Just breathe. Five more rounds of breath. Maybe wiggling that jaw from side to side if your forehead happens to be touching something, maybe rocking it. And then slowly, if you're on your belly, start to walk hands under shoulders. If you're on your back, maybe just switching the legs, lifting them. We'll come through table or down dog to open that hip so that right knee stacks, maybe make some circles. And we'll make our way into down dog or table. If you're going on your belly, if you're on your back, feel free to switch sides. Left leg lifts high this time, stack and open that hip. Maybe wiggling the ankle around. And then left knee towards left wrist, sneaking that foot through, maybe a prop under that left hip. And those right toes and knee go back, lifting up tall. Exhale, folding forward. I'll check in about a minute. Staying with your breath. Relax the jaw. Maybe those toes behind you. Notice if they're gripping. About halfway through, if you took the twist on the other side, maybe taking it here, spreading that right arm under left. Moving props. Or staying exactly where you are. Take a deep inhale in. Full exhale out, 5 more rounds of breath. Maybe rocking that head, relaxing the jaw. On your belly, slowly bringing hands back under your shoulders. On your back, just staying there, maybe rocking and rolling that low back. And lifting up to table or down dog to open the hip. That left knee can make some circles. I'm just wiggling those hips from side to side. If you're in table. And we'll all make our way to our backs. Maybe having a blanket under the low back or bringing it with you. You're going to return to that peak posture of a recline twist, but seeing how it feels different and adding a little to it. So you can start here by maybe crossing that right knee over the left. And then we'll push into the mat, lift the hips, move them over an inch to the right, and then dropping those knees over to the left. Again, maybe come in all the way to your side. If that doesn't feel good, unstack or uncross the knees and they can stack. Maybe find a different version of the twist. Or just notice how it's different from the first time. Take 3 more rounds of breath here. Maybe find something a little bit deeper for those last 3. Maybe it just involves relaxing that shoulder more to the earth, the right shoulder. After that 3rd exhale, no hurry, slowly making your way back through center. Uncrossing those knees, and we'll switch sides. So that left knee crosses over right if that worked for you. Push into that grounded foot, lift the hips, move them over an inch to the left. Make space to drop over to the right. If crossing the knees doesn't work, uncross them. And then again, that right hand can be on the left knee. Maybe that left arm comes to a cactus or extended long if you have the space. Three more breaths. Maybe relaxing a little bit more into the pose. Or see if you can let something go. After that 3rd breath, coming to stack knees through center, planting both feet on the ground, bringing them about as wide as the mat, maybe a little wider than the hips. And then this might be enough for you. For me, it's a lot on the low back at the moment, but you can bend and tent those knees in towards one another. Constructive rest for low back release. And then I'd offer giving yourself a big hug. Notice which arm stacks on top. Maybe just massaging those shoulders a little bit, relaxing that upper back into the mat. And then switching which arm is on top if you took that hug. Then letting that go, taking any last postures you need before final rest or shavasana. And you have props nearby, you can use those for support, but take your time to get set up in this final rest. Maybe you liked legs up the wall, maybe seated would feel better for you. There's no wrong setup for this as long as you're comfy. But keeping in mind that sukha, that ease in this posture. So if there's anything in your way that might bother you for practice, maybe try to push it aside, whether that's physical or mental. Take a deep breath in, full breath out. We'll be here for 5 minutes of silence. I'll check in when those minutes are done to wake you back up. Start to bring your awareness back to your physical space. Maybe just notice the inhales and exhales start to deepen. Bringing movements to the fingers and the toes. Maybe tapping a thumb to each fingertip. Moving ankles and wrists. Stretching long. And then taking the next 5 to 10 breaths to slowly make your way to seated. So maybe you tip over to one side if that feels good. Maybe you rock and roll. There's no hurry. Maybe the eyes stay softly closed or floated open. You can cross at the ankles. Hands come to the knees to lift that crown tall. And bringing hands to heart center. Thanking yourself and those for practicing in community with you today, for making it to your mat. Namaste in its simplest form means the light in me honors and acknowledges the light within each of you. Bowing forward to seal your practice. Namaste.